Welcome, my political friends of the interwebs. Well, as promised, I forced myself to watch the Democratic National Convention day one. I don't know if I can make it 3 days, but I'm going to damn sure give it a shot. I'm telling you, the things I do for you. I'm just pointing out the fact that clearly there's much love from me to you, for me to be able to put up with this nonsense. So anyway, I'm just going to give you a quick recap. It's not going to be a real long video, hopefully not a real long video. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to cover every speaker because, you know, most of them really weren't worth covering. But I will tell you the ones that were worth covering and give you kind of what I've got to say about it. The first speaker that I thought was an excellent speaker is a woman that's running for Congress, and her name is Tammy Duckworth. She was a Black Hawk pilot in Iraq, and unfortunately, to hear her tell the story, it's a pretty horrific story. She was co-piloting the Black Hawk, and basically a RPG came flying through, landed in her lap. And, well, you know, when you've seen her come out, she's got 2 prosthetic legs, and yeah, it's a tragic story. However, she seems to be in very good spirits, and I'm sure giving her opponent every bit of hell. Yeah, you know, she's running for Congress. It's going to be really interesting. But, you know, when I listen to her, by the way, she's Hispanic. Well, no, you know what? I don't think she's Hispanic. I'm sorry. She looks maybe Asian. She's an ethnicity of, she's an ethnic background. I'm not really sure. Either Hispanic or Asian. But, yeah, I mean, to listen to her talk, you know, she's really, in a lot of ways, sounds pretty Republican. So I'm not sure how she fell into the Democrats' Venus flytrap, but yeah, she talked about tax credits for vets. Yeah, I mean, basically, if somebody was to hire a war veteran or a veteran in general, that they would get a tax credit, which, you know, that's, you know, giving companies tax breaks is pretty much a Republican concept, you know. In fact, it's an old one too. When I got out of service, actually my first job I actually got with the assistance of the Veterans Administration, and the company that hired me got tax credits for employing me. That was back a long time ago. But yeah, she was a good speaker. I think she's got a future in politics. Yeah, you know, so, anyway. Anyway, she was appointed to Obama to head up some Veterans Affairs committee or something. I don't know. Now, having said that, she did say some things I was kind of annoyed by. She was talking about how the Republicans want to cut food stamps and Pell Grants and all that stuff. You know, the main theme, by the way, of this convention, two themes that I can detect right out of the gate. One is it's a politics of fear, which is what the Democrats are really good at. But it's scare the hell out of everybody that the Republicans are going to cut food stamps. They're going to throw Granny over the cliff. You know, they're going to let poor people starve to death in the streets. It's just, you know, nonsense. And those, I don't know that she really believes that, but I'm sure that she was just spewing Democratic talking points because, after all, she's running on a Democratic ticket. Now, my guess is that she's running as a Democrat probably because she probably didn't think she could beat the incumbent in a primary. That's my guess. So a lot of times politicians, sad to say this, but it's true, they're politicians of convenience in the sense that if they see an opportunity, they'll run for either party. And then that's why a lot of times you get congressmen and senators both jumping ship because they don't really have a party loyalty. Now, does that say something about Miss Duckworth? Yeah, a little bit. You know, a little bit. Anyway, the next speaker that I thought was really interesting, and this kind of goes under the politics of fear category also, was Zoe's mom. Now, I don't remember the woman's name, but she came out, she told a story, a very heart-wrenching story about her daughter, who's a child, and apparently her daughter was born with a congenitive heart defect and has had 3 different surgeries, and they've ran through about $500,000 worth of procedures. And she basically came out and said the Affordable Care Act saved her daughter's life, which is a huge, huge stretch. But, okay. Whatever. You know, I'm not laughing at her. Listen, God bless her daughter. She's got a struggle ahead of her in life. But when you come out and you say things like the affordable health care plan saved my daughter's life when it is not true, then, you know, you're going to have to take a little blowback from people like me. That's just the way it is. And before anybody jumps my ass about this, the fact of the matter is that it didn't save her daughter's life. You know, now maybe there could be some kind of argument to where what could happen in the future if Affordable Health Care Act was repealed or whatever. You know, but that's all. You know, that's, you know, you can't prove that shit, people. Just simple as that. All right. Anyway, but she did tell an interesting story. By the way, honestly, I'll listen. Bottom line, our healthcare system was broke, and this is really, I lay this on the doorstep of the Republicans because the whole time they were bitching and moaning about what Barack Obama was trying to do, okay, they should have been coming up with an alternative plan, and they weren't, and that really pissed me off. Because the whole time I was saying the same thing. Look, there are things that need fixed. And one of the things that Zoe's mom was bitching about, and I have to admit, I'm with her on this, is, you know, these insurance companies were putting lifetime maximums. And, you know, to me, that's bullshit. It was always bullshit. Now, under the Affordable Care Act, the lifetime maximums are no longer in existence, which they shouldn't be. You know, I don't believe you should be able to put a cap on something. It's like, you can have insurance, but you can't go over the, you know, bullshit. Bullshit. Because basically what that does is it allows the insurance companies to charge the bejeebas out of you, and then at a certain point say, well, this person's clearly really ill now. Now it's no longer about taking their premiums. It's about actually have to pay out, and we're not down with that. And I listen, I've got a hard on for insurance companies and have for a long time because I've been screwed over by them more than a few times. But once again, the Republicans weren't doing anything about that. So these chickens are coming home to roost. Now, do most of the American people want Obamacare repealed? Yes, they do, and rightfully so. But I think it really is on the Republicans to come up with a viable alternative. Some of these things like, for example, portability, some of these things like pre-existing conditions. You know, I've got pre-existing conditions, and trust me when I tell you, it's costly, insanely so. You know, there's just a lot of things I think that the Republicans could do to work on that. So, but Zoe's mom, you know, it was an interesting human interest piece there. All right, now we gotta go to the big dog, Rahm Emanuel. Is that a porn or a porn star? I don't know. Anyway, Rahm. He had to cut his visit to the Democratic convention short because a couple of things were going on in Chicago. One, people were being slaughtered in the streets. You know. The city, and I'm laughing. Oh God, why am I laughing about that? Well, I'm laughing about that because it's literally a poster child for why gun control doesn't work. I lived in Chicago. Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws on the planet, or in the United States. And I've told people this before. When I lived in Chicago, I had an AK-47 under my bed. It was forbidden in Chicago, and still is, to have an AK-47 in your possession. But I didn't care. I mean, the laws were making me a criminal, but you know what? It's the old saying, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, you know. So, yeah, and but, you know, there's a bloodbath in Chicago right now. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Of course, I don't think Rahm knows what's going on either. But it was interesting because he was really the first of the speakers to actually start with the UAW nonsense. And if you watch my previous video, you know that I predicted that. And by the way, I made that video like at noon. You know, I didn't upload it till late because YouTube uploader was screwed up earlier. But I predicted that. I mean, this is all this next 3 days is going to be all about how Obama saved the UAW. And the other thing that's going down in Chicago, which I think is hilarious, is that Rahm is going to war. He's going to the mat with the teachers union. The teachers union in Chicago is threatening to strike. You know, I love it when these Democrats, and I see this in Toledo, Ohio. I love it when these Democrats who spew all this nonsense about unions and how they're the union's friend and all that crap, but when it comes to public unions, they're at each other's throats. And truthfully, There's not a Democratic mayor in the country that wouldn't like to do away with public unions. And the funny thing about it is that they get a taste of what corporate America has to deal with. You know, it's just, yeah. So anyway, Rahm has to jump a flight. In fact, he's probably back in Chicago now. Okay, Chicago's a freaking mess. I mean, listen, Rahm Emanuel has been... Rahm Emanuel has been the mayor of Chicago now for what, a couple years? And look at it. Seriously. I mean, seriously. Okay, the next up is this actor, Kal Penn. Now, I've not seen any of his movies, though I hear that they're really good. This guy's a pretty good speaker, to be honest with you. But, you know, he's an actor, and he's used to speaking in front of lots of people and all this stuff. And, yeah, but he's a good speaker. I was actually somewhat impressed. But, you know, he said something really interesting. He said that, well, see, Obama had put him, and I don't know how this happens, but Obama had put him in a position of being in charge of, I don't know, some young person's initiative. Anyway, he actually had an office in the West Wing of the White House on the second floor. A little crampy office, I'm sure, but he still had an office, and he went to work every day, which I thought was really interesting for a Hollywood actor. But he said something really interesting. Obviously, Obama has opened up with him and shared some of his innermost secrets. But he said that Obama has recently paid off his student loans. Interesting. And, you know, Michelle Obama tonight had made mention, not to jump too far ahead, but made mention that he couldn't have went to school without student loans. Well, here's the interesting thing about that. Apparently, Obama's telling this Kal Penn guy and whoever else will listen to him, but all about how he paid for college, but he won't tell the rest of us, and he's got all those records sealed. I just find it really kind of intriguing. I don't know why. Don't know why. Now, this next speaker, this Lily Ledbetter, she's a Southern gal, I think from Alabama. She's a women's rights activist, and I gotta be honest with you, she's a really good speaker. I love listening to somebody with a Southern accent that's articulate. I really do. I love that. Because the Southern accent's actually a beautiful accent. You know, I mean, I'm talking the Gone with the Wind type thing. She talked about, you know, how women were only making 70 cents on the dollar and all this blah, 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 which I've never bought. Listen, I don't know how they spin the books to come up with those numbers, but every job that I've ever had that was hiring men and women for the same position, that job paid the same, regardless of what gender you were. I can remember when I got a job at Libby Glass, and so it was a job making glassware, or at least that was part of the process. And there was, I don't know, they probably hired, I don't remember, probably 13 of us. And we had women that came in to the class with us, to the hiring class. And we all started out the same, you know, wage. You know, so I don't know. I think sometimes they manipulate those numbers to kind of present this rift between men and women. And I don't know. They cooked the book somehow on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section on that, because I really do not believe that women make less than men for the same work. I just don't believe that. At least not as a matter of policy across the board with employers. Anyway, the next up, anyway, Massachusetts governor. He was a good libtard speaker, a libtard nonetheless. Really, that's all I got to say about him. Well, I shouldn't. That's all I've got to say about him. He is. Well, you know what, I'll have to do another video on this guy, because I find it interesting that he has a lot to say about Mitt, when, to be honest with you, his track record in Massachusetts as governor isn't exactly stellar. Anyway, Julian Castro. Now, Julian Castro is the mayor of San Antonio, Texas, and he's an interesting guy, I have to admit. Though he is no Marco Rubio. I keep pronouncing that wrong. Oh my God, I'm over 14 minutes. How did that happen? Anyway, good speaker. I might do a whole video on him. He's an interesting character. I think he might have a future. Although I do not think he's going to be the first Hispanic male president. I think that'll be Mitt Romney. But I do think that Marco Rubio may be. Anyway, need a lot of other stuff. Michelle Obama stuff, really not important. We've heard her talk a million times. She was just up there cheerleading for her husband, but she's good at it, and, you know, she is what she is. She's the first lady. But, damn it, I'm out of time. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll be back tomorrow for day 2. See ya!